Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Friday with Friends. We've done so many episodes. I don't even know what episode we're on. But today, I'm here with Annie Lee from Ivey. But she wasn't originally from Ivey, okay, or Western. She started out at our home, for most of y'all watching, Mac Healthsci, okay? So she went from Mac Healthsci to Ivey's honors business of administration, so Ivey Business. And I saw her profile and I just thought I need to have her on the pod because how do you go from like the most competitive program in Canada, Mac Healthsci, to one of the other most competitive programs in Canada, but in the different fields? And I just needed to hear the story. Maybe I'm nosy, maybe I'm just curious. Like, I just need to know. And, this channel is all about honesty and pivots and early 20s, and it can be very messy, it can be confusing. And I thought Annie would be a great person to have. So, welcome in.
Thank you so much, Wynette. Honestly, super honored to be part of this channel. I've been watching your videos since I was at Mac myself, so it's a little bit surreal, but thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Annie, first question I always ask everybody. Can you first share a bit about your upbringing, high school experience, and your career interests at the time?
Yeah, of course. So, growing up, I had an older brother who I was super duper close with. He was like my role model and my inspiration, and he was very set on being a doctor. So, he applied to Mac Health Sci, didn't end up getting in, but like went to Western for Med Sci, went to Western Med School, is now in residency. Like he is a doctor. And so growing up, I looked up to him a lot. And so I was like, I want to do what Matthew is doing. That's his name. And so I went to really like academically focused high school. I did the IB program. And like I was very dead set on following this path to go become some kind of doctor. But when I was applying to university, I sort of had it was almost like a gut feeling where I was like, maybe I should also look into other things. Like I was part of DECA and like I went to the SHAD program like back in high school, and I had a lot of friends who were also interested in the business route. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like maybe I also want to do business. So I was very split between the two. And I actually ended up applying to both business and med programs. But I actually ended up deciding on going to Mac Health Sci because, and I don't know if this is true or not because I only did one path, but I felt that it was easier for me to transition over to business school with a science undergrad versus trying to apply to med school with a business undergrad, if that makes sense. So like that was sort of like my like fail-safe plan. And then, as my time went on in Mac Health Sci, not that I didn't like the program, but I was just like, wow, not for me. And then decided to apply to transfer, and that sort of brings me to where I am at Ivey now.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you. And I think it's so cool that your brother's a doctor. I don't know, like maybe it's a McMaster in me, but like when I see the med students in their backpacks, like those backpacks, I'm like, ooh. And I don't know, it's so weird thinking that like young people can be doctors. Like I like people our age are in med school. Like that's I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's a Gen Z thing to say, but like it just doesn't make sense in my brain.
No, it blows my mind. And I feel like also with like the upbringing from an immigrant family, like careers like doctor and lawyer and dentist, like that, those are all the ones that were like really, really pushed. So I was sort of seeing my brother, I'm like, wow, this is like the golden standard and what I should be trying to emulate. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. So my parents were well, I would not say unhappy I chose business, but I feel like my brother's in engineering, so maybe they like that a little bit more.
Oh, no.
Okay, question number two. This is more about the house site application. Okay, I get so many questions about house site. I cannot answer those questions. So, how was the entire application process? What was your reaction to being accepted? Your brother didn't even get accepted. I heard the acceptance rate is like lower than Harvard.
I don't know about that last part. Actually, I've heard rumors too, but definitely don't want to flatter myself too much. But it was really um I this sounds like a really cliche answer, but like I just wrote about what resonated with me. and like what I felt I wanted to write about. Like I know a lot of other people try to write what they thought the admissions office would want to see. But I wrote about sex work and Asian glow. Like literally like when you drink too much and your face gets red. Like I wrote about that in my sup app. So it it was like a unique process because I like so many other people, I had a couple drafts going. And it was almost a process where I was like trying to gaslight myself to be like, it's fine if I don't get it. Like I don't want it anyways. Like, like just try to like reason with yourself. But of course, like when I got the acceptance, it was like really refreshing and honestly like a really big celebration with me and my family. Actually, when I first checked the status of the application, I thought I got rejected because I had also applied to iBiomed engineering at Mac and gotten accepted to that. And when you get accepted, it's like a green circle. But because health sci was a conditional acceptance, the green circle wasn't there and it was like a blue square. And I thought that because the green circle wasn't there, that I got rejected. And I was like, damn, like, sorry, mom. Like, I guess I'll just but it ended up working out. So it was great. I'm definitely really fortunate for like I feel really grateful for the path that I've been able to go on. But I by no means think that I'm some like writing connoisseur or like applications connoisseur. So yeah.
Wow, like you don't think you're an application connoisseur, but maybe this is a Mac thing, y'all. You go to Mac, like I feel like there's always a debate, like what's the harder program to get in? Is it House Sci or is it iBiomed? And I feel like there's always and then people are always like, iBiomed's like way harder when you get in. Like, have you seen the schedules and like House Sci, blah blah blah. So like if you go to Mac, it's very much in the culture that these two are like kind of like up in people's heads. So the fact you got into both is like insane, especially because you were not 100% sure that most people that want to do iBiomed like want to do iBiomed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I was like just sort of really lost at the time, and my parents were like, "Would you apply for engineering?" And I was like, I guess, like, sure, like, why not? It's just another app. Like, if you're willing to pay my OSAP fee for it, I'll do the app. So yeah, but thank you. I'm really flattered.
Yeah, no, that's great. I can already see the LinkedIn messages from the high schoolers flooding into your inbox. So I'll have that in the description for y'all. Okay, let's move on to the third question. So just to clarify, did you complete your Bachelor of Health Sci at Mac? Like you got the degree there?
I did, but because I did a 3-year degree, that means I didn't do my thesis. So it's just Bachelor of Health Sciences without the honors part.
Okay, cool. So you did complete the Bachelor of Health Sci and you just entered into Ivy this year to do your HBA. When and why did you decide that you wanted to study business alongside your health science background?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The aha moment was really in second year when we were doing anatomy, and everybody was definitely enjoying it a lot more than I was. Like all of my friends who are now currently in med school were like, "Oh, this is really interesting. Like I love learning about it. Like it's hard, but like I like it." And I was like, "Wow, it's hard and I hate it and it's not fun for me at all." And then so that's sort of what like gave me a hint that I should probably look into something else because anatomy and like looking at all of these different like systems and physiology, that's a huge part of what med school and being a doctor is going to be like. Not saying that being a doctor is the only path for health side, like by no means, I'm a great example of that, but like I was just like maybe frontline work isn't for me. Because even though I had that interest in science, like I feel like, and this is just my own personal take on things, but being a doctor or a dentist or a pharmacist, like someone who's on the front lines and you have those one-on-one relationships with patients, I feel like your impact is really, really significant, but it's very localized. Because it's like your intimate relationship with like one patient or like one person that you're treating. And I kind of wanted to do like some like large scale impact. Like I think there's like significance to both, and it just depends which one resonates more with like you and your personal mission and like where you find fulfillment. But like for me, I felt like I don't like I would take so much of that home with me, like at the end of the workday. And I didn't think that that was something that I could shoulder. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can make an impact like from like the back end side. So like, I guess like the corporate side or like the management side. And that's sort of what drew me not so much towards business, but just to something that wasn't frontline work. And then, you know, I wanted to look at other opportunities, and I felt that Ivy would give me like the best, or like it would open the most doors for me and like give me the most flexibility in that way.
Yeah, thank you for that aha moment, because I think when students have like these aha moments, I think there's a lot of like negative connotation associated. Like you worked so hard to get into health sci, all your friends are loving anatomy, and like I don't know, it's a very it's cognitive dissonance when you're in that situation. You're just like, what's going on? Like, am I not smart? Like, you know, am I not hardworking? But really, like, it could just be something else. Like, you're on to a bigger thing. I remember like working in my internships in finance that I worked so hard to get, and just sitting there thinking, what? No, like I don't like this, and it made me feel bad. So like I think the aha moments don't have to be like bad, you know. And I know like I share stories with people that have come out the other side, and it wasn't as glamorous like in that moment. I'm sure, you know, there were like very hard times during that realization, but you know there is another side. So just cross that bridge, take a chance. I always say risk it for the biscuit and see what happens, because there could be a delicious biscuit waiting for you on the other side.
100%. No, like, and I think the imposter syndrome is so real. There was definitely a lot of guilt because, like you were mentioning, like health sci is an extremely competitive program. I was like, wow, I made it here and I don't even want to go to med school. I just stole someone else's spot who wanted to go to med school. And it was a lot of like guilt and like almost, yeah, like I felt really bad. But you know, everyone has their own journey. I'm very thankful for mine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the guilt's for real. And yeah, I was part of the diversity cohort for like RBC Capital Markets, and they picked 6 kids, and it's diversity too. And I'm all for diversity like in these programs. And I was like, I also came with a $10,000 scholarship. So that one made me guilty. That one made me feel guilty because I was like someone else could have been in the one of 6. Like I think, yeah, there's a lot of like dissonance in that sense. And then thinking about all the people that helped you, like maybe like your brother was a huge inspiration. You're not letting him down, but it's just like it, you know. But also, it's not that serious, y'all. It's most of the time not that serious. So like, it's okay. It's okay. Anyway,
life is too short to feel this bad about things. Just do what makes you happy. Move on.
Yeah, it's fine. So just girl boss your way out of it, you know, whatever. It's fine. Question number 4. I'd love to hear this one. Could you speak about your entire internship journey so far?
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster because I didn't know what I wanted to do for a long time. I still kind of don't know what I want to do, but I've just sort of gotten to be more at peace with myself now. But so from the very beginning, like when I really wanted to do med, I had a lot of research positions. So I worked with sick kids. I did cancer research at UHN. And like, not that I didn't enjoy that work, but I just couldn't see myself doing it long term. And so that was very much pre-career crisis. And then once I had that career crisis, sort of like I mentioned earlier, I didn't know what I want to do. I just knew that I didn't like it in health sci, or like I didn't see myself as like a frontline worker in healthcare. And so I thought that that meant I had to leave healthcare entirely. This was sort of before I actually thought about like, oh, maybe there's intersections between healthcare and business. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to tech now because that's where things are growing. That's where things are moving. And if I can just put my head down in a book and learn how to code, everything will be fine. It was not fine. I actually started in UI UX. So I did an internship at this cosmetic technology startup in Montreal. And once again, was fun work, but I just couldn't see myself doing it long term. And so after that, I was like really lost. One of my really good friends who's at Queen's Commerce recommended consulting to me because she was like, hey, so I know you don't want to be a doctor anymore, but consultants are kind of like doctors for businesses. You could try that. Like there's still like that problem solving aspect that you like. It's like fast paced, so you're not going to get bored. And you get to try new projects all the time in like different industries. And maybe you can use that to find an industry that you like. Or if you like consulting, stay in consulting. So then I tried to recruit for MBB, so McKinsey, Bain, BCG, and that did not go great. I think it's important for me to share that because we've been talking a lot about my successes so far. So I think it's really important for me to also highlight that I failed multiple times. I sort of realized after many, many rejections from MBB, from Deloitte, from EY, that like maybe I should not ditch healthcare. Like instead of looking at it like a handicap for myself, let me see if I can reframe it into an advantage. And so I applied for the KPMG Healthcare Solutions team, and once again was also quite a wreck. I had COVID during my interview process. I actually applied for the wrong term. I don't even think my managers know that. So if they watch this video, that'll be fun. But I applied for the wrong term. So I applied for winter instead of summer. But I ended up making it work. So I was lucky enough to land the position, and I organized and rearranged my schedule with my academic advisor so that I could finish my last semester of health sci and work full-time KPMG at the same time. And so after that, I extended my contract for 2 more months into the summer to make a full 6 months at the firm. And I think that was probably like my big break into business, where I was like, yes, actually, I feel at home here and I like the direction that I'm going in. And even if this is not where I want to stay, I feel purpose in this direction, which I didn't really feel before. So that was a really great moment for me. And then I guess coming up this summer, I signed with Sagard Partners or Sagard Holdings for their healthcare partners team. And it's sort of like doing like royalty investments for like new drugs and technologies. And so I've hopped from like med to tech to consulting, and now I'm trying finance. And so I'm a little all over the place. But that's just to say that like, I'm now more comfortable with trying new things. And I think we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure. And all over the place. I would love that to be the new motto for this channel because that's what we love and like trying new things. And I love that you've touched like every one of like, I guess the hot topics of a business student as well as like a science student. So, oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Okay. Question number 5. Would you recommend that students complete a bachelor's degree like you and then transfer to Ivey HBA, or does a 2+2 make sense for certain programs? For example, doing 2 years of Mac BCom and then 2 years of Ivey HBA, or do you think they should get that BCom, not honors BCom, but a BCom and then transfer? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
I think this is maybe not the answer that people want to hear, but it definitely depends on your career aspirations and also your financial resources. I will say, some people don't like to hear this, but Ivey is not cheap. My 1 year of Ivey here could have paid for my entire BHSU degree. So like it is not cheap. If you have if you qualify for financial aid or like can apply to scholarships, like would recommend, but like if you have the capacity and like ability to do the HBA program, I think like I'm loving my time here. Like I've only been here for 2.5 months, but like I love it here. And I think I've also noticed a very stark contrast in like the ease of recruiting. I would say it's still rough in Ivey, but like it's just the resources that they give you, the alumni network. Like you can LinkedIn anybody if they have Ivey in their name. You could just, or like Ivey in their profile, you're just like, hey, I'm also Ivey, please help. And they'll be like, oh, sure. Whereas like coming from Mac, like I'm sure DeGru also has like an extensive alumni network, but maybe, I don't know. But like I wasn't even in like a business program. I was like a little health sci. So I wasn't even in DeGru. I didn't have Ivey or like any kind of like recognizable name for like in the business world. And so it was a little bit harder to break that barrier. But also at the same time, I don't think I would have changed anything about my path. Like there was also the option to only do like 2 years of health sci and then come to Ivy, like instead of like finishing the whole degree. um I don't know if it would have been better or worse. I think it's nice to say that I have a degree under my belt. I also know that a lot of Ivy kids tend to do like dual degrees. So same thing, like 5 years, 2 degrees. And I know a lot of them like excel and go really far. But at the same time, like if you just do a 2 and 2 with like a BCom and then HBA, or at Western like the BMOS and then HBA, like a lot of people do really well with that too. I always like to say that the 2 and 2 style is kind of like, if you think of it like a 4-year business program, but just all your electives are in the first 2 years, you know? And then in those 2 years, like feel free to explore whatever you want. Like if it is business, go do that. If it's healthcare, or if it's psych, or if it's, something else, go do that. Because I think honestly, more knowledge is never gonna hurt you. So that is my that's my 2 cents.
That's amazing. I never thought of like the first 2 years being electives. That's a great way to put it, because I think like I don't know if I wish I heard that when I was in high school, but like I was always like kind of like confused about the Ivy like HBA. Like I was like, why can't I just enter business school? But then thinking of like, yeah, you do get electives, like, being at Mac BCom, like you do get a lot of electives by the end of your degree. And it just helps, like, I guess, in your brain to think of it that way too, if you're apprehensive. Like, and yeah, more knowledge never hurts. I always see like some really interesting backgrounds, like people doing like media their first 2 years and then going into Ivy, and maybe they start, marketing or advertising. Like, I think that's super cool. So if we have any high schoolers watching and you do, want to go to Ivy, I think it would be cool to explore something else, other than BMOS, or BMOS if that's the case. But yeah, question number 6. How does your diverse background help you in school and in your early career? Are there any challenges you encounter that may be different from the typical business student?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I was pretty like, I wasn't very knowledgeable about the business world and anything that was other than the career paths that we sort of saw laid out for us from a young age. Like, you could be a doctor, you could be a teacher, you could be a banker, you could be like, it was very like cookie cutter careers. But of course, through exploring and just coffee chatting different people and, doing my own research, like there's intersections almost everywhere. And in terms of the health and business intersection, I mean, like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but like, it seems like a very up and coming area. I feel like, especially after COVID, healthcare is such a hot topic. Like, because everyone sort of realized, like, people realized before that it was important, but especially after COVID, we're like, oh my goodness, health, drugs, medicine, like safety, like this all has such a huge impact on other areas of the economy and other areas of our lives. And that I was like, that's me, like that's where I am. And so I feel like just further burrowing myself into this niche is like really where I want to go. And like, I wouldn't say that my healthcare knowledge per se was like particularly an asset, but it's almost like the way of thinking, like how you approach things analytically from that healthcare perspective really helps, like especially when you're at a table with people who only have business perspectives. There's like a unique idea that you could probably bring in. And then, yeah, like health sci and Ivy, they sort of give me like the best of both worlds for like skills and knowledge. But I would say that as an entry level analyst or entry level employee, I think like my knowledge base is important, but like the ability to learn and to like be coached and like be adaptable is a lot more valuable. So I wouldn't say that, like, for example, if one of your viewers is in only BMOS and HBA, but wants to go into something healthcare, like don't let that be a deterrent if there's no background in healthcare. Like the knowledge base is less important than like your willingness to learn. And that leads perfectly into the fact that I had to cover a lot of learning for that business side. And like in terms of, reading ahead in class to be like, okay, what is a DCF? Like, what are financial statements? Like cash flow? What is that? Like, like, all of these things that like didn't really make intuitive sense to me while I was at health sci. But I needed to know in order to recruit, or like I needed for that prerequisite course in order to apply to Ivy. And then of course, like in the actual career space, when I started my internship at KPMG, a lot of the jargon was super hard to get used to. Like, I don't know if, maybe like in business school, they teach you a lot more, but I didn't know what a boilerplate was for 5 months. I didn't know what crunchy meant for the longest time. And like when people are like, oh, let's double click on that. I'm like, what do all of these words mean? Someone needs to give me a dictionary. But apparently these are very commonly used words in the corporate setting, in office settings, that I didn't know. So it was almost like learning a completely new language. But yeah, that was the hardest part, actually.
Yeah, and just to be honest, I don't the first two terms you said, I don't even know what they mean. Crunchy on TikTok, I think that means someone that's granola, but what does it mean in business? What does crunchy mean?
Crunchy, like your slides can be crunchy, but I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
What
It's like
does
you
that
use it as
mean?
beyond me. Like I knew for like maybe like 3 weeks, and then I left the job and it left my brain. So
Okay, okay. I guess I've never been in a job where slides are like a big deal, like in banking or consulting, so I'm not sure. And then boilerplate, is that what you said? Or boiler root, what was it?
yeah, boilerplate. I think I could totally be wrong. I hope people don't come for me if I'm wrong, but I think it's like the essentials because you boil off the excess and it's like you get like the
Oh,
essentials that are left behind. I don't know if I'm right or not. That's just my interpretation. But
okay.
there's a bunch of terms like this where I was
Yeah.
like, wow, I need to write these down.
No, I feel like I need to write them down too. Like I don't okay, good to know. A little tip for you guys. Write the acronyms down or these weird words. Here's a fun question. What are the vibes like at Mac versus Western? Maybe my viewers can guess a little bit the differences in vibes, but how about you confirm?
So I will always love Hamilton, which is weird because when I was at Mac, I like never thought that I would say I miss Hamilton. I think first and second year me would be like, are you crazy? Um, and that's not to say that I don't like London. But I think Mac has a lot more of a homey vibe. Like I think campus is a lot smaller. I feel like Hamilton's a lot more like you can get places with public transit a lot easier. You have that little strip of Westdale that's like really cute. Like you have a lot of cute shops, like the stationery store and like the bookstore. You have Paisley's. I love Paisley's. And then like you have Snooties there and everything. And then like all of like the going out places are sort of downtown if you go to like Hess Village or like like 77 and Sizzle. I feel like on the other hand, London is a lot like I wouldn't say the city's bigger, but it's more spread out. Like back at Mac, I could walk from my house to my class in 10 minutes, like tops. But here it's a 30-minute walk or a 30-minute bus. Don't ask me why the bus is the same amount of time as the walk. Like it's and then campus is also a lot bigger. Like it takes, I think it's like an oval. So if you walk from like the short ends, it's probably 10 minutes or like, yeah. But then if you want to walk from like the one side of the oval to the other side of the oval, like 30 minutes easy. Or maybe I'm just a slow walker. If anyone from London is mad at my hot take, but like at the same time, like I think there's a lot to do in London. Like I feel like downtown is super lively. Like there's always something going on. Like Monday, like karaoke at Molly Bloom's. Tuesdays, sex toy bingo at Seeps. Wednesdays, wine Wednesday. Thursday is Ivy Thursdays at Delilah's. Friday, Saturday, you go anyways, and then Sunday is karaoke again. So like there's literally something for every single day of the week if you want to. You can name any day of the week. I've been dragged out on like a Tuesday before, which never really happened at Mac. And I know we were talking a little bit before we started the video, but at Mac, I feel like we go out on occasions like St. Patty's, Coco, Halloween. But when I came to Western, they're like, "What are you doing this Friday?" I'm like, "What's on Friday?" And they were like, "It's Friday. Like, are you not going?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I guess I am now." And obviously with a grain of salt, because I'm sure there are some very lively people at Mac too. But I think the biggest contrast that I noticed was how much I go out more in Western versus Hamilton, or Western versus Mac.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, we were speaking before the video, but sometimes I see the Ivy gals, the Ivy boys and their stories, and I'm just like, damn, that looks kind of fun. But but I do know myself, and I'm more of a homey person. So I guess like the Mac vibes are good. But anyway, also when you do like start your early career and like you're working and like you have money, you can also like go out there too if you go to like more of a homier school. So, okay, thank you for that fun little question. I have two more for you. You'll soon have an HBA and already have a Bachelor of Health Sci from arguably the two best respected programs in Canada. What's next for you in the short term? We know you're going to do a finance internship. So, yeah, like, do you think you're going to stay in finance for a bit? And in the next 10 years, like, do you want to be a founder of like a health tech startup or what's your dream?
That's such a good question. Yeah, so short term, gonna try my hand at finance. We'll see how it goes. Maybe Annie can cut it out as a finance bro, but we'll see. But yeah, from like the whole med to tech to consulting to finance trajectory, I feel like no matter what, I do want to try and incorporate healthcare somehow. Just because, it's where I started off, still have a passion for it, and like I really like working in that intersection. So trying to find where that fits best, no matter like what I add it to. Um, in terms of like where, oh, I really want to go abroad. Like I'm a very strong proponent of like doing what excites. Like if something is exciting and new and like a little bit scary, that's like something that's like a cue that I should try. So I really want to go to New York. I know you can give me some reviews, but I really want to try New York just for like a little bit. I feel like it's such a big hub for both healthcare and business. And like they just have so many opportunities that are there. And also, I do like Broadway. I love myself a little bit of a singing and dancing vibe. So I think it would be a really great place to just spend a couple of years. But like long term, my plan is to basically just work, but like not live to work to live. And I have a certain lifestyle that I would like to maintain. So I guess it's just whatever can kind of support that. Like I obviously like want to like do well in my job and get promoted and hold positions of power because I think we need more POC women in those positions of power. However, I've already burnt out once. Like I like burnt out in high school. I would say maybe burnt out in health sci as well. Not trying to do that again. I think there's like a really healthy balance of work and life that I want. I know there's like a movement going towards work-life integration, which personally I'm very, very against because that sounds horrible to not have a line between work and life. But yeah, just really working to live, not living to work.
Oh my gosh, I think you're the first one that, I ask this question to every one of my guests and even just people I meet. And usually they have like a specific thing or they want to be a venture capitalist or they want to have their own fund and whatever. And that's cool. But you're the first one to say that I want to work to live and I want to support a fun and fresh lifestyle. And actually, I think you awoke something in me. That's my goal too. I didn't
There we
realize that
go.
I also strive for this in 10 years. So, hopefully in 10 years we can do that and we can meet at some fancy restaurant that we can pay for because we have a good job, but we can go to because we have time,
There
right?
we go. Because what's the point of making all this money if you can't spend it?
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. I love it. That same wavelength. Now, finishing up the pod here, what advice do you have for science students curious about business, or more generally, students looking to incorporate other studies into their undergrad education?
Yeah. I'm gonna be a little cliche here. I think I've been cliche multiple times, but bear with me one more question. I have three quotes that I really resonate with that I sort of go back to whenever I'm sort of at a crossroads or I'm really lost. The first is seek discomfort. I think where like obviously to a certain extent, but like seeking discomfort is important because I believe that nothing great has ever been done by staying the same. I like to try new things. I like to put myself in situations where I'm like, wow, I don't know if this is gonna work out, but like, what if it does? What if I love being delusional? Because then things might not work out, but what if it does? Or like, oh, I might not get this job, but what if you do? I might not like this career path. What if you do? What if, right? Like, I think there's a lot of mental barriers that can hold yourself back. And of course, it's so much easier said than done to work past that because it's a really scary thing to go outside of your comfort zone. And I think you do need times where, you sort of make it to that next step and you're like, okay, let's like stay here for a little bit, get accustomed to here and then jump. Like, I wouldn't say like, because that's how you burn out. But yeah, seeking discomfort is it's because there's so much out there. And so much I don't even know what I don't know. So in order to find out, I need to venture. So number one, seek discomfort. Number two is to bet on yourself. I think it's so easy to discount yourself and to almost like self-sabotage, like to reject yourself. Like, oh, that firm is so competitive, like they would never take me. Or like, oh, I've already started in my track to healthcare. There's no way I can switch over to anything else. Like I'm locked in. I think that if you really believe that, then it's true. And it sort of limits your ability to go out and do what you actually want to do or like explore what you want to explore. Like bet on yourself, right? Like I think every single person watching is extraordinary in their own way, whether or not they're a really great, maybe they're like a really great like older sister to someone and they're super caring and empathetic, or someone's like a really great soccer player and like they go to practice and they have that commitment and they're like super disciplined, right? Like it doesn't always have to be something academic, but everyone has something in themselves that they can shine through on and they can use to their advantage in careers or in the corporate world or in exploring their career paths. So yeah, bet on yourself. That's the next one. And then the last one, which is actually a very much like health sci saying, is be kind to yourself. Or as our profs used to say to us, BKTY. And I think because seeking discomfort and like putting yourself out there or like betting on yourself, like continuously fighting those voices in your head that are like, you're not good enough, you're not going to be able to get this, like that's so tiring. And it's so much like pressure on yourself. And a lot of people are going to burn out if you just do that without any breaks. And so the be kind to yourself is that like, maybe when you seek discomfort, like you really, really hate it. Like that's okay. Like give yourself some slack. Or like you bet on yourself. You put yourself out there and you fought those voices in your head that said that you couldn't do it. But then like you got rejected anyways. Like be kind to yourself. Like don't beat yourself up over it because you'll get the next one. And I think that this is a mindset that's really easy to say, but hard to implement. And like I struggle with it all my life. I still struggle with it, especially that last one of like being kind to yourself, because it means that like, if it's 12 a.m. and you've gotten so many rejections, instead of applying to more jobs, it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe I should sleep. Or like maybe like let me take a shower and use my favorite shampoo so that because I like the smell of it, right? Like it's that last part really is the most important, like being kind to yourself, cutting yourself some slack, because it's a really rough world out there, like especially the corporate world. Oh boy. So they're not going to be nice to you. The shareholders are not going to be nice to you. The managers are not going to be nice to you. So you have to be there for yourself and that person for yourself. And I think the combination of the three is really what I would give as advice, and it's what I live by. So yeah,
You should have a pod. You should have your own podcast because well, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing a very philosophical portion of my content. I think I would love to get into it, but I don't necessarily have the language. So thank you for adding that component to it. And I agree with everything. Also, isn't it so weird that we'll bet on other people, we'll be kind to other people, but we can't do it to ourselves? Like I have like friends, and I'm like, of course you can, break into Goldman in New York. Like,
Yeah.
I don't doubt that. Of course. Like, that's not my question. But to me, it's like, there's no way. There is no way. And it's just like, why? Whereas
Yeah.
those exact friends have no doubts about me. It's very weird. But I think as if you be Delulu, first of all, and you treat yourself like your best friend, then
Hmm.
what's gonna go wrong? And if your best friend, aka you, gets a rejection, like, are you gonna tell your best friend, oh, well, that's done with that, be done with that? No, you're gonna say, oh, you'll get the next one. So like, that's a thing. Like, let's just be nice to ourselves. Be like your friend. Make
Hmm.
yourself your friend, and things will go well. It was such a good conversation, Annie. I wish like we were talking over like drinks or food or something. But we shall meet in person. And for everybody else, I'll have Annie's LinkedIn in the description, so you can check her out. And good luck with everything, Annie. You've been an inspiration to hopefully a few hundred people listening or watching or wherever you are. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye, everyone.